British pub erupts as Labour politician shouted down and thrown out. In the heart of London, where cobblestone streets pulse with history, a seemingly ordinary evening at the Crowned Lion pub transformed into an extraordinary spectacle that would reverberate through political circles and royal watchers alike. It was a typical Friday night, the air thick with laughter, chatter, and the clinking of glasses. Patrons, a mix of locals and tourists, were ready to unwind, unaware that tension was brewing just beneath the surface. As the clock struck 7, a familiar figure entered the pub, Clara Hastings, a Labour politician known for her fiery speeches and unyielding stance on social justice. She had recently made headlines for her outspoken criticism of the royal family's role in contemporary politics. The moment she walked in, the atmosphere shifted. Some patrons cheered in support, while others exchanged wary glances, torn between admiration and disdain. But Clara wasn't just there for a casual drink. With a recent poll suggesting her party's waning popularity, she had come to mingle, rally support, and maybe even turn the tide of public opinion. As she approached the bar, the murmurs grew louder, and the tension palpable. Would she be embraced as a champion of the people or heckled as an unwelcome guest? Suddenly, the door swung open, and in walked a group of boisterous young men, clad in blazers and bearing the unmistakable air of privilege. They were known among the pub's regulars as ardent royalists, staunch defenders of the monarchy. One of them, Jake, a local influencer with a significant social media following, immediately spotted Clara. His eyes lit up with mischievous intent. "Look who it is!" he shouted, laughter echoing through the pub. The self-proclaimed voice of the people. "How's your campaign going, Clara? Still trying to take down the royals?" The room fell silent. Clara's composure faltered momentarily, but she quickly regained her footing. "I'm here for a drink, Jake, not to engage in your theatrics," she replied, her voice steady but laced with tension. Yet, the taunts kept coming, escalating into a cacophony of jeers and shouts. "Leave the monarchy alone, Clara. They're the fabric of this nation." Another patron chimed in, his words punctuated by a chorus of agreement from the group. Clara stood her ground, but the atmosphere was charged with hostility. The bartender, sensing the brewing storm, tried to intervene, but the young men were relentless. "Why don't you just admit you're out of touch with real people?" Jake continued, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Maybe you should ask the royals for a job since you're so obsessed with them." The tension reached a boiling point as Clara attempted to address the crowd. "I'm here to represent the people's voice, not to silence it. If we don't discuss the monarchy's influence on our lives, we risk being stuck in the past." Her impassioned plea only fanned the flames. Just as she seemed to gain a moment of control, a glass was thrown, narrowly missing her. Gasps filled the room, and Clara's expression shifted from determination to shock. "Enough!" she shouted, but her voice was drowned out by the chaos. Then, in a surprising turn, a woman from the back of the pub stood up. "Let her speak," she implored, her voice rising above the din. "We need to hear different perspectives." The crowd quieted for a brief moment, curiosity piqued. But Jake and his friends were not ready to let it go. "You can't handle the truth, Clara," he yelled, and before anyone could react, he lunged forward, grabbing her by the arm. In that instant, the pub erupted into a frenzy. Clara was pushed back, her supporters rising to her defense. The bartender shouted for calm, but the energy was electric, filled with anger and confusion. Clara's eyes darted around the room, searching for an escape while the crowd chanted, a mixture of support and disdain. As the uproar continued, the pub's owner, an imposing figure named Mr. Thompson, stepped in. "That's enough. We won't have this in my pub," he declared, his voice booming above the chaos. Clara, sensing the urgency, managed to break free from Jake's grip. But before she could exit, Mr. Thompson positioned himself in front of her. "You're not welcome here anymore," he warned, his gaze fierce. The crowd gasped, the tension thickening once more. "That's not how democracy works." Clara protested, her voice steady despite the tumult. But it was too late. With a swift motion, Mr. Thompson escorted her toward the door, the very symbol of the clash between modern political ideals and traditional royalist sentiments. As Clara stepped out into the chilly night, the sound of the pub faded behind her, replaced by the distant hum of the city. But her heart raced, not just from the confrontation, but from the realization that this moment would undoubtedly ignite discussions across the nation. What would happen next? Would Clara's dismissal from the Crowned Lion become a rallying cry for her supporters? Would the royalists feel emboldened, or would this backfire in unexpected ways? The night held no answers, only questions that would linger long after the last drink was served. As the camera zoomed out on the pub's illuminated sign, viewers were left hanging, eager for the next chapter in this unfolding drama, a tale not just of politics but of the very fabric of British identity. What would the repercussions be for Clara, the royalists, and the monarchy itself? The answers awaited, just beyond the horizon.